2.5 years ago, I started making my first Steam game. Then I released it, opened the first month's report, and yeah, I'll show you the real number at the end. If you are a making game yourself, I think this might save you a very expensive mistake. If you have not seen Adventurer's Gambit before, it is a co-op extraction roguelite dungeon crawler game where you go into dungeons, draft abilities, decide whether to risk one more room, and try to get out with the loot. That was the game we wanted to make. Tense cooperative runs and difficult calls with your friends. And before launch, there were signs that it might find an audience. Around 2 months before release, about 5,800 people had wishlisted the game. We also worked with creators and picked up about 800 wishlists more. I took that as a green light, but we had not really answered the harder question: who actually needs this game and why would they choose it? Before I show you the first month's numbers, let me show you what that confidence cost. We released Adventurer's Gambit on May 7. Before that, we had been building it for 2.5 years. I put the value of my own time at about $70,000. We also received a $20,000 government grant and $5,000 in angel marketing investment. So where did that marketing money go? Around 2 months before release, we were sitting at about 5,800 wishlists. I looked at that and thought, okay, people want this. Then, roughly 2 weeks before launch, we spent about $2,000 to get the game in front of streamers. The campaign added around 500 wishlists before launch. So, naturally, it felt like the launch was moving in the right direction. But a wishlist is interest. It is not proof that enough people will buy the game and keep playing it. We found relevant streamers and get the game in front of their audiences. That was useful, we got exposure, and we saw the wishlist number move. But it still did not answer the question that mattered most. Would those people turn into players who bought the game, stayed with it, and told their friends? Creator coverage can give a push to a game. It cannot create demand for the game itself. Looking back, I had the order backwards. We made most of the game before we knew whether it was something people would actually choose. Adventurer's Gambit was simply too ambitious for a first self-published game. We wanted a multiplayer roguelite with extraction tension, drafted abilities and co-op chaos. I still love those ideas, but the team being excited about an idea does not mean there is enough demand for it. We should have talked to the audience earlier and tested a smaller version before committing to the full scope. Instead, we spent years building the game and learned that lesson afterwards. That is a very expensive way to do research. Next time, I want to work in a different order. First, figure out who the game is for and what those players already care about. Then, put a small version of the idea in front of real players and listen to what comes back. Set up the Steam page and playtest early. An early demo teaches you a lot while changes are still cheap. Once that is clear, set a scope the team can actually carry. Then prepare next fest, short videos, creators who fit the game, and a way to measure what worked. That is the point where I would commit years to development. I think that lesson will save me far more than this game cost. I do not want to pretend the financial side of this story does not hurt. It does. But I also do not think the whole project was wasted. I learned the full pipeline of getting a game onto Steam and releasing it myself. We now have our own engine, and we can reuse it to make games with similar features faster next time. We also have a much clearer way to approach the next game: research, playtest, demos, short content, the right creators and measurement. And whatever the report says, this is still the first game I have published myself on Steam. Of that marketing budget, about 2,000 went on streamer coverage before launch. It brought in about 800 additional wishlists. That is not nothing, but a studio cannot live on wishlist growth. So let's put that spend next to the report and see what the game actually brought in. For the first 31 days from May 7 to June 7, we sold 92 copies. Then 32 of them were returned or charged back. That left 60 net copies. Customers spent $985 before returns, tax and Steam's cut. After the returns and tax, the report shows $600 in net Steam sales. With Steam's 10% cut, that leaves an estimated $552 as our Steam revenue share. That is not profit, and it is not the final payout. It is before studio expenses and income taxes. The hard part is that the Steam revenue share was still roughly 4 times smaller than the streamer's marketing budget spent. Even the gross sales did not reach the $2,000 we spent on that campaign. So that is the real answer. Financially, this was not a success. This release did not make the money we needed, but now I can see much more clearly what I would change. For me, this was a doctorate in game development. Expensive, exhausting, and something I will not forget. I will start smaller, talk to players earlier, and let the evidence shape the game before the scope gets big. The game did not pay for itself, but the knowledge, the release process, and the engine are still here. If you played Adventurers Gambit, tell us what made you stay or leave, and if you make games, subscribe for the next honest update.